Okay, so hello and welcome to this tutorial. In this tutorial, we'll teach you how to make a Flappy Bird game. So the Flappy Bird game will look something like this. We'll have a bird that flaps, and every time we go through the pipes, we will add 1 to the score. So if we hit the pipes or the ground, it will be game over for us, and we will have a replay button to play the game or to replay the game as many times as we want. So this is the game that we will be making. So let's get started. So to start making this game, we need to create a new Unity project. So to do that, let's go to Unity Hub, open Unity Hub, and let's create a new project. So click here, New, and let's select 2D because our game is going to be in 2D. And now let's give our game a name. So I'll call it Flappy Bird, like this, and hit Create. Now Unity will start creating the default template for our project. So we will have to wait a minute or so. And now here we will have the main editor. But if it is the first time that you open Unity, it may not look like my editor over here. This is because I have personalized my own editor. So if it's the first time you open Unity, it would look something more or less like this. But what I like to do is that I like to drag the hierarchy to the right. So you can left click and drag to the right and position it over here. And then I like to put the game to the left. So go to the game tab and now just place it here to the left, and we will have the scene here at the center. So we have the inspector here to the right, and we have the project view here at the bottom. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is that we need to add the sprites for the game. So I have my sprites in my desktop. I have them in a folder. You will have the sprites attached to this lecture. So just let me find my sprites, and I have my sprites over here. So now that we have our sprites, what we need to do is that we need to select them here in Unity, and then we have to select multiple for the sprite mode, okay, because we have multiple sprites. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to set the filter mode to 0.0 filter and the compression quality to none, and then we're going to hit apply. And now when we're going to hit the sprite editor, and we're going to hit slice here at the top and slice again, and then we're going to hit here apply. And now we can see that we have sliced our sprites in individual sprites like this one. So make sure that every single sprite is individual. And now we're going to close this window. And now what we can do is that here in the assets, we have the sprites. We can click this arrow and we can see that we have the individual sprites. So if I select, for example, the background, you can see a preview of the background here in Inspector. And what we can do is that we can drag this background to the hierarchy. And in the hierarchy, we just have a main camera, and now we have a background. So let's rename this in the inspector. This is the name of the game object. Let's rename this to BG. And you can see that we have a problem here. We can see that the background is very, very small. So first of all, let's set the resolution for our game. Right now, if you take a look at the game view, you can see that it says free aspect. We're going to change this. So click here, and we're going to change it to 9:16, okay? If you don't have this 9:16, you can add it here. You can click this plus icon, and you can change the type to aspect ratio, and here you can type in 9:16, and you can name it 9:16 because this is going to be the aspect ratio that we're going to work with. And then click OK. I'm not going to do it because I already have it, so I will click cancel. Alright, so now that we have the background, what we're going to do is that we're going to make all of our sprites bigger. Okay, we're going to make them bigger. And how do we make them bigger? We're going to select the sprites here in the project, and here you can see that there is a field called pixels per unit here in the inspector, and it's set to 100 pixels per unit. We're going to change this to 25 pixels per unit, so we're making the sprites 4 times bigger, okay? And now we're going to hit apply here, and you can see that now the background fills all of the camera space, which is nice because our sprites are now bigger. Alright, so now let's go ahead and drag the ground. So select the ground with left click and drag it to the hierarchy. Let's rename this to ground. And now if you hit W on the keyboard, you will see that some guides appear here, so you can drag the ground vertically down like this. Just place it in the right position. And now what we have to do is that we have to drag our bird to the scene. So to do this, left click the bird here in the project view and drag it to the hierarchy. Let's rename this to bird. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to move the bird a little bit to the left and position it accordingly to the to the sprites. Okay, so now that we have the sprites set, now if we hit play, we will play our game. But if we hit play, nothing will happen. And another thing happens, and it's that the ground is now behind the background and the bird is behind the background. Okay, so why does this happen? This happens because if we select the background, you will see that it has an ordinary layer of 0. And if we select the ground and or the bird, they also have an ordinary layer of 0. So just like in Photoshop, here we have layers. So what we can do is that we can select the ground and we can assign an ordinary layer of 2 to the ground. So now the ordinary layer of the ground is bigger than the ordinary layer of the background, so we'll render in front. And we will give the bird an ordinary layer of 1, so it renders in front of the background but behind the ground, because the ground has an ordinary layer of 2. So now if you select the bird and you drag it down, you will see that it renders in front of the background but behind the ground. Okay, so that's going to be it for this video. I'll see you in the next video.